So thank you, the organizers. Thank you, IPC. I wanted to focus my speech on building the bridge and the link between the two main audiences that we have today here, the startups on one hand and the investors on the other hand. So when we think about what can make this link between those two very distinct and different audiences, one of the things that we miss the most is test beds. We already talked about this for several times, but I again want to emphasize the importance of those test beds, both for the startups to make sure that their test will be successful and not only a test, and for the investors that know where their money is being put into. So I will first, I don't need to introduce to this audience what is the meaning of the ocean or the innovation in the ocean area for a country like Israel that is so highly dependent on marine sources for potable water and commerce and defense and whatnot. It's also the growth of the importance of the marine is obviously also growing worldwide. And again, POCs and pilot tests are becoming vital for all the members in this innovation scene. And I'm not only talking about those two major groups of startups and investors, but also on MTNs, accelerators, scientific research, and all the, let's say, cloud of entities that is surrounding this scene. We are CAMERI. CAMERI stands for the Israeli Coast and Marine Engineering Research Institute, and we are a joint venture of the Israeli Port Company and the Technion. And what I will present today is how we as CAMERI can offer our facilities and our resources to make sure that those startups can hit the ground running and not waste money of investors just for the sake of the test, let's say, not using the money for the best way. So I'll give you a few examples just to make sure that everyone is understanding what we're talking about. I'll start with the physical oceanography data. So one of Mrs. Despina mentioned how we're flooded today with data, and everyone that is stepping into this world knows how important this data is in order to make sure that the calculations and the tests are being done correctly. We in CAMERI hold tens of data sets that are especially relevant to this corner of the Mediterranean, but also of the North and Red Sea. And we use this data for everything that we need. So in a way, it's the core of all of our activities. And we also see how important this data is for the startups that need to make sure that their innovation is actually valid. Then the next thing that we're focused on relates to our numerical modeling. So this is the next step after having all this data. We want to make the analysis of this data and make sure that this data is relevant. So I provided here only very few examples of how this data is being used. So whether it's for desalination, sites that we want to make sure that their environmental impact is as low as possible, going through solar panels that are floating and their performance is optimized, and all the way to the classic wave breakers that we need to make sure that their impact on the sediment transfer is as little as possible. Next, we will talk about wave flume. So the wave flume that we have in CAMERI, even though it's relatively modest, is still the largest of its type in Israel, and it allows to do various tests from vessel maneuvering to stability tests and even energy harvesting from from waves, just as the startup that was presenting earlier today. So all of these activities are extremely important for a startup that wants to make sure and show to these investors that their idea holds water. And this is exactly where we can come into the picture. Another facility that we have, unique facility, is our wave basin. This wave basin, which is located in the heart of the Technion, is approximately 1 dunam, 25 on 50 meters of surface. And this, for example, is a test that we did in a collaboration, academic collaboration, to monitor the pollution might come from vessels and how we can monitor it using sensors that are built over drones. So we use those facilities both for applicative and research, academic research, and we definitely want to offer them also to startups that want to make sure that their product can go to market. Next, we want to present the simulator. So as some of you may know, in Israel there is one marine simulator that is located in Akko, Acre, not so very far from Haifa. And this simulator, even though it's first class in terms of technology, requires a lot of human accompanying. It requires a lot of engineering in the planning stage, during the simulation, and afterwards. And it's also very important to mention that this simulator, which is a navigation simulator, is only one of many types of simulators that exist already worldwide. So we definitely have the capacity to accompany those simulators, and we already used also the simulators for startups that want to make sure that the efficiency of their vessels is becoming better. There's plenty of things that we can do with those simulators for startups. Finally, last but not least, is the actual tests that we do on the ground. So this is an example of one of the Israeli new ports, the one that Noah was in charge of building in Ashdod. And in this example, we show with the red dots how we introduced smart sensors to monitor the energy that is produced with waves on the undertopping of this facility. We definitely invite startups also to use the actual facilities and the infrastructure of the Israeli Ports Company, but this is a good example for how we reached to the port only after long tests that we did in the laboratory. So only after we sharpened and made sure, polished the idea, made sure that we have something that can be worth the money of investment, we went to the field. So advantages of local test beds, because obviously we have also plenty of test beds in other countries worldwide. However, in Israel, in Kameri, we have a controlled environment where the startup can experiment, test, and validate new technologies. It's a crucial step to enhance investment in all types and stages of the startup life, and it can also allow the green light in some cases for specific projects. Our test beds rely on accurate, validated, safe, and trustworthy data and facilities. Of course, that the human factor is maybe the most important of all, and we definitely want to use our resources to reduce costs and improve logistic and other operational objectives. And as mentioned before, we are always welcoming collaboration locally and from international partners. We always want to hear innovative ideas, new partnerships, how we can use our expertise in the best way. We want to build international collaborations. There are plenty of opportunities out there in Israel and abroad for various applications. There was just, Noah mentioned artificial islands, which is one of our focuses. We also want to tackle climate change problems. We heard today about aquaculture difficulties. So all of these many sectors where we are already involved, we want to augment and provide solutions for all the many challenges that we're facing in the marine sector. Thank you very much.